Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing my July wrap up, showing you all the books that I read in the month of July, so let's just get started. The first book I read, I don't have to show you, for some reason it's gone missing, I don't know where it's gone, but it was Almost Grace by Rosie Ryle. I have done a review on this, so I'll leave that down below, but really I didn't like this book. I just don't think the story was for me. There was a huge age difference between a relationship that was going on, and I just wasn't interested. I found the story boring and it just wasn't for me, so I rated the book a 2 out of 5 stars. It was okay, but I definitely wouldn't read it again. After that, I picked up Fragile Things, Short Fictions and Wonders by Neil Gaiman. I've also done a review on this, but it's not out yet, so you can look out for this. But it's basically short stories by Neil Gaiman and along with a few poems. The poems weren't really my thing. I'm not a big poetry reader and I just feel like the poems also just weren't that interesting. However, the short stories for the most part I really enjoyed. Obviously there were some better than others, as you do get with something like this, but for the most part I really enjoyed them and I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. And then I picked up my first ever Sarah Dessen book, and it was The Truth About Forever. I enjoyed this book. It follows a girl named Macy who is struggling with her relationship with her current boyfriend. He's a perfectionist and he is perfect, and Macy thinks that's great, you know, it's perfect to be perfect, but he's like really like an asshole kind of perfect person, you know, like not the perfect romantic boyfriend, no, he's like perfect. It just, oh, this kid. She's also been struggling with her dad's death, and so one day she meets a new group of friends, including a guy named Wes, and they're very different to anything that Macy has ever like hang out with before, and she really likes them, and she maybe discovers that you don't have to be perfect to enjoy life, and that maybe there's still something out there to enjoy. It's a nice coming of age story and I enjoyed it, and I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. After that, I was sent Paperweight by Meg Haston, and I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I've done a review of it, which isn't up yet, but it will be up shortly. I was also sent this book in exchange for a honest review from Hotkey Books, so thank you Hotkey Books for sending this to me, but I really enjoyed it. It's about a girl named Stevie who is convinced in 27 days that she's going to die. She plans to kill herself in 27 days for reasons that are explained in this book. And when we first started this book, Stevie is sent to a treatment centre. She has, I guess, anorexia, and the whole book is her in this treatment centre and her dealings with it and dealing with her wanting to die and everything. This book is really honest and real and brutal, and for that reason I'm going to be giving it a trigger warning, because the way Stevie thinks and the anorexia part of it, whilst it's done really well, it definitely can be really real sometimes, and I'm not going to get into really too much about it, but I'm just going to put a trigger warning there, and if you want to know more you can definitely check out my review when it's up. I really enjoyed this book, but I just think there needs to be a warning for anyone who is, guess, easily influenced or has dealt with that kind of stuff in the past. This book is filled with hope and anger and denial and sadness, and it's just a heartwarming, beautifully breaks your heart kind of book, and I really enjoyed it. And then I read Life in Outer Space by Melissa Keel, and I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm really excited about it because I read her first novel, The Incredible Adventures of Cinnamon Girl, earlier this year, and I loved it, and so I went into this one with high expectations, and I loved this one too. This author is become one of my new favourites, and she's also Australian, which is uber cool. This book is about a boy named Sam who is a self-confessed geek. He likes playing World of Warcraft, and you know, he's quite happy with his life. And then he meets this girl named Camilla who he decides it will have nothing to do with him. She's already placed her in the popular group when she moves into the school. However, she kind of starts sliding her way into Sam's life, and Sam's not too happy about that because, you know, she's breaking up what they had. Like, there's a cycle, there's a routine, and she is breaking that up. How dare she? It's about Sam dealing with Camilla forcing her way into his life, and friendship and love. And it's just a heartwarming, fantastic coming of age story, and I really enjoyed this one. I've done a review of it, you know, where I finished that book that day, so my thoughts were a lot more concise and I tell you properly more what it's about and my full feelings on it, but I really enjoyed this one and I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. Also, by the way, the review won't be out till later this month, but it will be out this month. Then I picked up The Sacred Lies of Minnow Bly by Stephanie Oakes. This book is about a girl named Minnow who was in a cult and now she finds herself in a juvie detention centre. Half the book is told in present tense while Minnow is at this juvie detention centre, and the other is told in the past when she was back in the cult. It did this really well and I really enjoyed it. The cult aspect of this book was creepy AF. Yeah, I just said AF. It means as fuck, by the way. And this cult was really bad. In fact, Minnow now has no hands because of this cult. And that's not a spoiler. It's like said in like the first couple of pages. But yeah, and you go back into the point of time and she loses her hands and Oh, that scene, guys, that scene. Minho kind of has to struggle with this book about dealing what happened to her in the cult, and now in the juvie detention centre figuring out what was told, what was the truth in the cult and what was just a lie, if anything was the truth at all. You know, she has to struggle coming back into normal everyday society, well, as normal as can be for a juvie detention centre. Again, I have done a review on this one, however it's not out yet, it'll probably be out later this month, but I loved this book. I really thoroughly enjoyed it and I thought it was a fantastic read. I also gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up Thinking of You by Jill Mansell. This book is about a woman named Ginny whose daughter has recently moved away from college, and so she's dealing with that and the empty nest syndrome. So Ginny decides to help with her loneliness that she will rent out part of her house to a stranger, you know, get a boarder in and they can have some fun time. So she gets this woman in and it turns out she's very dull, and Ginny kind of regrets that decision. She also gets a new job and her boss had, I guess, a wrong impression of her, and so she's dealing with that, but she also can't help but find that her boss is really attractive. With a Jill Mansell book, you always know what's gonna happen. When you first read this book, you know who's gonna end up with who and kind of what's gonna happen, but you don't really know how it's gonna happen, and that's why you read the book, to find out how the story progresses. I really enjoyed this one. I just found it was a nice, light-hearted, warm read, and yeah, I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars, and for what it is, it does it really well. And then I reread a book, and that was Paper Towns by John Green. I reread this book because the movie has come out and I want to go see the movie, but I wanted to reread the book so then when I saw the movie I could compare them and do a movie review. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I plan to this week sometime, hopefully, if my assignments will let me. I've also done a book review on this because it turns out I haven't done a book review of it before, and so when that's out you can go check it out. I'm not really going to get too much into what this book is about because you should all know by now, really. It's everywhere, but if you do want to know what it's about, you can check out my review or you can just look it up, I guess, but it's really good and I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. I know that it's not everybody's favourite, but I personally really enjoy this one. And the last book I read this month was also a reread for me, and that was Me and Elle and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. I won tickets to go see this movie and I found out 2 days before and I was like, right, I'm going to reread this book too, and so I can compare them to the movie and see what I thought of the movie because I want to do a review on this one too. And this book, guys, I love it so much. I can understand how it might not be for everyone. The humour is definitely out there. It's kind of that shocking, really profane humour sometimes. I can definitely understand why some people don't like it, but for me personally, I love it. Like, this is one of the few books that had me laughing out loud. It's about a boy named Greg who, in his senior year of high school, his mum finds out that a girl he used to hang out with has cancer now and that she's dying. Her name is Rachel, and his mum forces him to hang out with Rachel. And Greg isn't too pleased about this. I have done a review on this one. It was like ages ago. I think it was about a year ago now. If I remember, I'll leave it in the description below. It was one of my earlier videos though, so I don't know how good it was in terms of me reviewing it, but I really love this book. I'm going to be doing a movie review of it, what I thought of the movie. Spoiler alert, I really enjoyed the movie. But yeah, I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. So I read a total of 9 books in the month of July. The first kind of few books were really slow for me, and therefore it kind of took me on like in a slow pace of reading, but then I started to really catch up and keep reading, and I started really enjoying what I was reading, and I kind of started to fly through them, especially at the end there. You should let me know in the comments below if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them, and like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more book related videos from me, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye!